Dude, so fucking good. Okay, so without even getting into it really off the rip, you and I both agree. Fantastic movie, way better than any business it had being as good as it was. It was just no way it should have been this good,
It
right?
was I'm for the first time in a long time they did a car movie right.
And it was a video game movie and a car movie and like
Oh,
action and drama. And it was the first thing I have written down in my notes. PlayStation Productions question mark. That's cool.
yeah.
Because for Sony to do a PlayStation production means that they took the time to do this right. I loved how they opened the movie by explaining the origins of the game. How he wanted to make it the most realistic simulation, and it was as close to driving a car as you were ever going to get in video games. I think they did one of my favorite parts about this whole movie from beginning to end are the shots where they go from making it look like a video game with a heads up display and everything
Yeah.
to being a real life action shot with him driving around the racetrack. They made a real race look like a Gran Turismo game. Like, what the fuck, dude? Like honestly, beginning. What'd you think about those first like 10 minutes of it, where they kind of introduced the characters? They introduced John. They kind of showed you some of the drama with his dad about how he didn't like the whole video games thing. Like,
Yeah, it was kind of watching it. Watching how they make the game and the detail they go into, where they auto scan each car. They do the
yeah,
engines. They bought, like, they'll modify the car, do the engine again. Like, it takes a long time to, like, and then you go into transition and he's fucking just going at it. I'm thinking, this is so cool. My favorite part of it, all the CGI work they did doing it, is when he's, and this is your spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, come back and listen to us later or just be spoiled, is when he's in the final race and he deloads the car. And he just
yeah.
basically he resets himself, going, okay, I can do this. And then the car forms back around him. Was just fucking masterpiecely done.
I like how he, at that point in the movie, how he reset the lines. How he like saw the line that they had been practicing and that he knew he was supposed to run, that the other racers were going to run. And he was like, no, I've ran this 1,000 times. I know this track. I know I can win on these lines. Right.
Yeah.
That was so cool. He gets notification. He's working with his dad in a fucking train yard. He gets the notification, yo, we're going to do a qualification. We're going to do the Gran Turismo Academy. We're going to bring in the best simmed racers on the planet. You're going to compete for a chance to be on an actual racing team, right?
Yes.
So he gets the chance. More drama with his dad. His dad is like, why don't you do something fucking normal, like play football, the British version of soccer. So he goes in, he does the race. He barely qualifies. He makes the team. He goes to the Gran Turismo Academy. Okay. For me, when I first saw this, I was like, there needs to be a documentary about this.
Yeah, because I did a lot of like, after watching the movie, I deep dive into the true story behind the movie. And not to ruin it, the movie bases it on this is the first time. He's actually the third person to do it.
Yeah, that's what I was explaining to Al. This wasn't the first one. He was the most successful of all of them, but he was not the only one to do this. They did this multiple years in a row. Jan was the only one to have a career after the first like year or two. Some of them didn't even get their license.
Yeah,
so,
like he was just, but the way, for storytelling reasons, it was done perfectly.
Oh, it was a beautiful story. A lot like the Von Erichs. Last week we discussed how they negated some stuff and they kind of embellished some stuff to tell a better story, and we were okay with it. Yeah. I feel like I'm okay with that, knowing, having done the research to do the actual story of what happened here. Legolas is the press secretary for Team Nissan. Hopper is like the coach, the chief engineer, the pit crew guy, right? The lead pit guy. One of my favorite parts early in the movie is when they first start training and Hopper's training the drivers how to get out of the sims and get actually behind the wheel of a car. he's having the exchange with Legolas, and Hopper's like, how am I supposed to monitor the drivers from a fucking
helicopter?
Dumbest idea I've ever had. And then it immediately cuts to him putting the headset on, and he's like, I can't fucking believe you convinced me to do this. I was like, okay, this is going to be cool, because I like a good serious movie that still incorporates a little bit of comedy.
You threw up on my lawn.
You threw up on my lawn. He gets in the chopper anyways. Like, what'd you think about that? Adding that kind of comedy edge to it, allowing him to play the light side of it up.
You need those good chuckle moments in every movie. Like every movie, like this movie was serious, but at times took the liberty of like how I would have reacted in real life. What the fuck you want me to do with a car in the air? Like that, like it makes no sense in reality, but he gets in it anyway for the press reasons. But he makes it like this is fucking stupid.
Mm-hmm. So they come to the end, not the end of the movie, the end of the Gran Turismo Academy. And my notes just say cocky Matty. Yes. Matty was like Iceman to Maverick in Top Gun, right?
Oh yeah.
Iceman should have won. He was the better pilot, yada yada yada. But Maverick was the main character.
You will
beginning of the movie.
Matty, better pilot.
Yeah,
never.
Matty was presented as a better driver. He was more photogenic. He was more media ready. Jan still got the role. He still got the position because he beat him by that 1,000th of a second. And my notes say you win by an inch or a mile or whatever the fuck Dominic Toretto said. Like, that's what came to mind here, because I was like, that's kind of the same thing. He was like, because he kept hammering home the point, because Legolas was like, Matty's more ready. Matty's more ready. And he was like, Matty didn't win the fucking race, baby.
Yeah. Like, a win's a win, bitch.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It was like watching it. Like, I was like, how is this kid going to get in the academy? So like, it made me like on the edge of my seat going, who the fuck really won that?
Yeah.
And the way, like, it was just, you could see that one guy was looking at it as pure talent and one guy was looking at it as a marketing stunt.
100%.
And pure talent seemed to work because he was the most successful, and he still races to this day.
He does. He races annually and stuff. My notes say things like cool montages galore. She said she was waiting for them to say Matty won. She was going to throw shit. Like, I popped multiple times in that movie when he was like doing well. Like, they did a great job of displaying like the emotion behind it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said that in the Von Erichs, it was about a family and tragedy. I would say this movie is about personal growth. Jan goes from being a kid who's never been behind the wheel of a car to being a world-class athlete and a race car driver in 2.5 hours. And I think it was well done.
Yeah, no, it was perfectly like watching his family come around full circle.
Yeah, his dad eventually suckering into it, his mom being his biggest fan the whole time, but always taking dad's side, like it was weird. Beautiful movie, and how, like, again, it had no business being this good. Really cool montages, fucking tons of montages. One of the really cool things, my notes say video game racers suck, but they don't want to suck anymore. A boardroom showdown between Jan and Hopper, because Hopper thinks that Jan is the reason why he crashed in practice, and Jan was like, no, bro, my brakes are fucked up. Somebody either messed with them or, they're over greased or something was wrong. My car wasn't catching right. And then the lead mechanic goes to Hopper and he's like, yo, bro, yeah, something was wrong with the brakes. Jan was right. And that's like, Jan's
what
like,
defies him getting into that final race. And this movie, the whole story behind it proves that we can make a simulator. This is Gran Turismo started off as a video game and is now a full-on simulation.
Yeah.
And someone who's never been behind the wheel of one of these cars got in it and goes, no, my brakes were muffled. My brakes were, something was going on with them. And then when the head mechanic comes back going, no, he's right, his brakes were messed up. For a video game to be able to teach someone that just by sitting in a simulation, dude, the VR is about to be crazy. Change the game of war.
Dude, I can't wait for a MetaQuest 3 Gran Turismo. Like, that's going to be unreal. Watching this movie made me go, maybe I should play, like, get back into Gran Turismo or something.
You could ask Nicole. I started looking up simulators.
Dude, Al sells for a company. Like, she does marketing for one that makes like $60,000 racing simulators.
Yeah, dude, these things get outrageous. They have $100,000 one that's a Formula One car that moves and shifts. And I'm thinking
the chairs for the one she was showing me, dude. Because after we watched the movie, I did the same thing. I was like, how much does a fucking simulator would cost me? Like, how much would it cost me to put up a cheap setup for like my PlayStation? You know what I mean? Like a cheap set of like pedals and a wheel and stuff. And she was like, no, check this out. This guy that I do marketing for, he sells like $65,000 simulators. I was like, what? And they're the ones that like the window, like the monitors wrap 2/3 of the way around you and shit. Wild. All right, so our boy wins. He qualifies to go to the races, right? Before he can get there, he's got to get his license. And I thought that was cool. They incorporated this part because it's not like, hey, you're a racer now. You can just go be a racer. Like, that's not how it was. Yeah. And they showed his struggle because they told him right off the rip, nobody wants you here. The mechanics are going to hate you. You're going to have to prove that you belong. But the good news is, low expectations. You got this.
The only way to go up, buddy.
So another really cool montage. 27th place, 23rd place, 17th place, 8th place. We get to the last race, and he's been dealing with the asshole driver back and forth. Kappa?
Yeah. That is the dumbest looking car I've ever seen, by the way.
That Lamborghini?
God, it's so ugly.
I didn't like it either. So him and Kappa are like Maddie, but worse. Kappa's a bitch. See, Nicole's on point with it. Kappa's a reoccurring character throughout this thing because Kappa's a new racer as well, but he comes from money and he's got the team behind him, and he wasn't fighting for his license because he already had it. He was a trained athlete, whereas Jan was a sim racer. Okay. Mm-hmm. So he gets his FIA license. The gamer is now a racer, right? He starts getting like selfies in the restaurants and autographs and shit because people are starting to recognize who he is. They cut to Tokyo, man. He's like living his best life. His homegirl's there with him, and they're like sneaking out of the paparazzi and shit.
He's flown her out from the UK. Like, he's living a fabulous life.
So he's rocking. He's got everything going. He's qualified. He's got his license. Everything's fucking trucking along, right? All he's got to do now is podium.
Yeah.
Then the crash happens, Bo.
Ooh.
And I didn't see this coming because, again, I didn't know anything about the story other than the fact that I knew they had done this a handful of times, and the dude they made this movie about was the only one that was any good. Literally the base of what I knew about it.
Yeah,
because I remember I was just barely old enough to remember when they started doing this because we were kids, like early teenagers, late like 10s, 11s, 12s, 13s, late 90s, early 2000s, right? Yeah. So I barely remember it happening, but not really. When I found out about the crash, Jan was a stunt double. He played his own stunt double.
Yes.
He was the stunt coordinator for the movie, and he done all kinds of other work as far as like consulting and stuff during the writing process. He insisted that they kept the crash in the movie.
Yes.
He said it was super important to tell this story because, and unfortunately, someone lost their life that day. And that was important for his story. And since this movie was part of his story, he felt like they had to tell it. The big crash, he has no restrictor plate on his car. So he comes over a hill doing a couple 100 miles an hour, and the wind picks him up like an airplane. All right. He takes off. He's flying up in the air, goes toppling through. I hate to admit it. I laughed a little bit when his dad goes, "Hold up. Is that his car?" And it's like flying towards the screen. I was like, all right, that's I don't mean to laugh, but like, so the big crash happens. Hopper and Legolas first in the hospital with him. They're fighting about it. They're like, oh man. And then they tell Jan that the unfortunate of the spectator passing. Jan like quits. He's like, I'm done. Fuck you. Get out of my hospital bed. I didn't know where the movie was going to go. Where did you think it was going to go after this point?
I thought it was not, like you said, not knowing a lot going into watching it until after it. I was like, that's serious. Like, that's crazy. Like, it was almost, is he not going to be good enough to get in
Holy
the
shit,
car?
Bo. I do not mean to interrupt you. Read that news line.
Hold on. AJ, I trust you, but these are one of those things I'm going to look up my main source, the ESPN. Fucking breaking news. Nick Saban is ESPN's reporting it also. Thank you, AJ. Holy shit.
Wow.
Will, can I pause for 2 seconds?
Pause for 2 seconds.
I'll be right back.
So, how are you guys doing? How's your mama and them? Just hanging out. Gran Turismo. I didn't know where to expect this to go. And when Bo gets back, I'll repeat this, but you guys are going to have to listen to it twice. I've got this really funny Mighty Ducks analogy that's coming up for this next part of the movie. And I think you're really going to enjoy it. It's funny. It's a good one-liner. Hell has frozen over. Nick Saban is gone. That means, maybe next year might be Tennessee's year. You fucking don't know.
Sorry, that's one of those things that me and my mom really, really get like going when it comes to college football, and I had to tell them.
No, yeah. Are your parents Georgia fans as well?
Mom's a South Carolina fan. Dad is a West Virginia. But my mom is a by default more of a Georgia fan because my grandfather was, like, you can ask Nicole, bled Georgia. Like, that's all like, you didn't come to his house and watch any other team play but Georgia or the Atlanta Braves.
Oh, for sure, she says. I'm here for it. It means next year might actually be Tennessee's year. Okay. You cool?
Yeah,
I'm grounded?
good. I'm good, yeah.
You ready? Okay.
I'm ready to get back to it. Sorry for that.
No, I love that. I'm going to clip that spot just specifically so I can post you reacting to Nick Saban. So this, my Mighty Ducks analogy, Bo, I wrote down Mighty Ducks 3, okay? Because in Mighty Ducks 3, Charlie Conway, the captain of the team, has to, Emilio Estevez's character comes back and he has to take him and he's got to explain why the coach is so mean and has a dark side. And Charlie's got to get back on the horse and keep going and blah, 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 right? Yeah. I felt like this was a Mighty Ducks 3 moments because Hopper gets you on and he's like, yo, put some pants on, let's go. And they get in this fucking Porsche 911 Boxster, okay? Gorgeous car. And he drives to exactly where Jan had his wreck. He tells him the story about, unfortunately, he was involved in somebody passing away in an accident too. He goes through his whole thing. Jan bought him a new MP3 player because homie was walking around with like a cassette Walkman for the first 2/3 of the movie.
Yeah, that was fucking touching, man.
Hopper tells him his sob story, gets Jan back on the horse so they can fucking take off again. And then we get to the last, like, half an hour of the movie. It's the Le Mans. Did you know what the Le Mans was before you watched this?
I knew what it was. I didn't know how fucking big it was.
I just recently got back into the Le Mans. When I was younger, I remember watching it because I thought it was cool because they didn't stop racing for 24 hours. But then again, didn't get into racing. Last year, however, is the first time they sent an American muscle car to the Le Mans, and a Chevy Camaro raced for 24 consecutive hours and almost podiumed in its class. Oh, so shit. That's huge for American muscle. So this was kind of cool to come back. So him and Maddie and the third place guy set up a team. All right. They're racing in what it seems to me was about 3-hour shifts because one lap took about 3 hours.
Yeah.
And it was a while. And then, no, not 3 hours. Sorry. It was a little bit because then he explained after he finished his first lap, he was like, okay, good. 151 laps to go or whatever it was. And the way the math broke down was they had to do it for 24 consecutive hours. If they didn't finish on podium, They were going to lose their team. So there's all kinds of drama because they went through the whole anti-sim driver campaign after the wreck and stuff. So Jan and Maddie and them are like, yo, we've got to prove that the sim racers are good racers and go. B-Dave says it's better than Ford versus Ferrari. I haven't seen Ford versus Ferrari yet.
Nope. I haven't seen it. I don't know if I want to watch
it. Scout says it was a great movie. So they get the Le Mans team. They start going. They're racing. They're in a faster car, a more sleek car. It takes a little bit more finesse. They say they got to train with it. Hopper gets them going. They end up pulling up. They keep going. And at the end of the movie, they finally slide in, barely make it in third place. Jan saves the day because Carl, or whatever the fuck his name was, not Maddie, started tensing up early. So Jan had to go out earlier than planned and come back from his rest time, and he had to bring it home for the team, right?
Yeah.
They got it in the last 11th hour. He slid in just like he did in his first race, right? To make podium. Yay, Jan. Bubbles are for podium, so they finally get their champagne that they never drank earlier in the movie. I had to fact check it because I'm Will, right?
Yes.
They made this presented like this dude went from being a sim racer to finishing third place in the Le Mans. Like that.
Yeah, this is where I did a lot of deep diving.
Like I did with the Von Erichs, I was like, David's climb to being in Japan was a lot bigger than they made it look in the movie.
Yes.
Jan's climb to getting to the Le Mans was a lot bigger than a bunch of little short montages, but also third place in his class. Okay. He never podiumed to win the race, not once in his entire career. No. He only finished third in his class one time at the Le Mans.
Yeah, he would never win. He would always be right there, winning the big world champion of racing. It never could get to it.
He was always that was going to be the analogy I was going to use. It's always the bridesmaid, never the bride. That seemed to be the story of Jan's career in racing in real life. Was he always had he's the Miz. You know what I mean? He's got some good wins. He's got wins. He's podiumed, but he's not he's not the trendsetter. He was never the best.
Yeah, they make the movie go from, and here's where just like you said, the back checking gets to it. They make the movie go from wreck to winning the Le Mans. That wreck happened 3 or 4 years into his career. The Le Mans happened 3 or 4 years after the wreck.
Yeah, not the same season.
But it was perfectly telling two stories that I've come now that I'm watching films and paying more attention other than just to watch them. That take some creative liberties. It still get the story out there, what he went through. Just makes it go a little bit quicker.
You almost have to when you tell a story like this. The same way with the Von Erichs. It would have been a 12-hour long movie if they incorporated a 20-year career into the movie. But instead, they wanted to focus on the first 6 years, and they made it. They presented it like it was the first year and a half, which I think is okay.
And they were both so good. Well, fucking done movies.
Agreed. We're 2 for 2. I was thinking about it, dude, and I've been having some trouble making my pick on what I want to watch. I was gonna pick one that I've seen a bunch, and then I was like, no, let's watch something new. But then I was like, no, we've watched 2 brand new movies right off the rip. Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to watch Die Hard.
I'll watch Die Hard any day of the fucking week. You're not telling me anything that's going to hurt my feelings.
We just left the Christmas season. It's my first pick of the year for the 420 Up and Smoke Cinema Club. I think, let me look at the schedule, because if we do Die Hard next week, on the 16th, the 23rd, no, it's the 30th. The 30th is when we're doing Underdogs.
Yes,
the last Tuesday of the month. So you'll have one more pick after next week.
Just like I would like, because last week I told everyone where they could find it the easiest, because you probably have it. It's on Hulu, and it's on Amazon Prime Video. You have to be like a Hulu premium subscriber, so like you have to be on the fucking thing. But it's on Hulu, or you can pay to watch it on Primetime
Amazon
YouTube
Prime?
subscriber.
So Die Hard is on Hulu though.
Yeah, Die Hard is on Hulu. I'm going to fact check that while you're doing your things, just so I don't feel like I'm making anyone not knowing where they can find it, so they can keep up with what we're watching.
Yay, Die Hard.
Yep,
Why
it's on
Bo?
YouTube. All of
It
them are on
is?
fucking YouTube.
Perfect. Yay, Die Hard. Bo, plug yourself. Tell everybody what you got going on. What's
You
going
can find me tonight on the Wolfpack Podcast over on Wolfpack Podcast on Twitch. And I'm taking a couple of days
What's
off.
up, Sean?
What's up, Sean? Boyfriend time over on the Wolfpack Twitch. Every Tuesday here for Nerdy News at 420. All top for NXT on taps. And sorry for the interruption. Bot spots and chair shots every Sunday, which is so much fun. Tune into that. Anything else? Follow me on Twitter at Jaxpo2020.
Sean, you just missed it. We just finished reviewing Gran Turismo. Next week, we're reviewing Die Hard. It's going to be a lot of fun, dude. We always start at 4:20 Eastern time. Let me go through my housekeeping stuff. Also, on this coming Sunday on Botchbots and Chair Shots, we've got an upcoming episode with Hacksaw Him Duggan, our boy Decent from TikTok. We're going to be dissecting the 2006 run of the GOAT, John Cena, leading up to the Money in Bank cash-in at One Night Stand with RVD. We just did the whole effing show last week and broke down RVD's run as Mr. Money in the Bank. And then the week after that, we're going to be breaking down the One Night Stand pay-per-view, which is going to be a ton of fun. We've got Alex and Lee coming on from the #1 ranked wrestling podcast in the country, perched on the top rope. So much good wrestling content coming. But make sure you follow Rivet City Radio, Botchbots, and Share Shots everywhere you do anything on the internet, Facebook, Instagram, X. You've got all the options. All right. Click the link in the description if you want to join Discord. That's the direct line to all the producers and hosts on Rivet City Radio, Off the Top Media. That's all of us. If you click the merch link in the bio, Botchbots and Share Shots Off the Top Media are now in a joint merch shop at myspreadshop.com. You can click that link. You can get your hoodies and your fucking beanie caps and your ball caps and your mugs and your fanny packs, everything. We've got it all there now. One of the most important things, though, is to sub for us using your Amazon Prime subscription. If you have Amazon Prime, you get a Prime gaming subscription. For Twitch, give it to us, give it to the Wolfpack Podcast, give it to Creation World, give it to anybody as long as Jeff Bezos doesn't get it. He has too much money. Bo.
Yes.
You got anything for the class, my man?
I will be watching Dynamite safely from my house tonight.
I'm going to be watching Dynamite tonight as well. There might be a little bit of TikTok streaming, but me and my Bo might also just be hanging out in the link. We don't know.
Yes, I don't know.
But the Boom with Cam G will be here tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Other than that, anything for the class, Bo?
Oh, that's it.
All right. For my boy, the Ginger Ninja Jaxpo, I am the Will Gray. Thanks for stopping by and listening, my people.